Hi everyone, thanks to joining us on Facebook and YouTube. We are live with a very good female driver, which is Tatiana Calderón. She drove in GP3, Formula 2, Formula 1 test driver, WEC, and ULMS, IndyCar, and now F2. Your question will be rated by Tatiana by Willy.
Yeah, welcome to the live. So I will take a look on the chat and feel free to ask any questions. I will relay it.
And now, hello Tatiana, how are you?
Bonsoir. My my French is not great, although I have spent a lot of time in France with French teams, but still needs to be better. But I'm super happy to join you today and in the live. So hopefully we can share good memories from other years.
Yeah. Tatiana, the first question you have to take. How did the passion start to you in motorsport?
It came with me, it came very natural. Like I've always been a sports lover, but one day my sister, Paula, who's today is my manager, she took me to a rental go-kart track near a house in Colombia. And we bought a 5 minute ticket, and I fall in love with speed, with adrenaline. So we were going there every day after school. We were begging my parents to buy us a go-kart, and it was really by the time that Juan Pablo Montoya was reaching Formula One. So there was like a big boom of motorsport in Colombia, and I come from that 5 minute taste to being here today talking to you after more than 20 years of racing. I'm very fortunate to have found my passion so early in life.
Tatiana, you see Juan Pablo Montoya. Is a driver who inspired to you?
Absolutely. I think, when I started to follow his career, I straight away, I knew I wanted to reach Formula One. I wanted to be where he was. And you start to look at all what he did. And he started obviously racing in Colombia as well. It was not a very well known sport back then. We only have one track still today, where you can really train. So it's he's definitely been a big inspiration for me. And even like today, I can believe I raced him in IndyCar this year, side by side. So it's great when you have that kind of moment. But for sure, he inspired me to become or to try and get to Formula One.
Tatiana, you start in karting 2005 and 2010 with a lot of victory. Yame Karting Challenge, Star of Karting. How do you feel your starting competition?
Well, obviously it was not easy at the beginning. I remember a lot, being it was me and my sister and my dad, and we didn't know anything about racing. Basically, we were just like trying, and people were trying to help us, and they were super happy to see women in the sport. Um, until we became competitive, then their faces started to change, and they were not that helpful anymore. And it became like tougher than what we thought it would be. But since the beginning, always been hard worker. I knew I found my passion. It was about more to convince my parents that I wanted to do this professionally. So yeah, in school, like after school, I would never go to any party. I would just go straight to the track, rest well during the weekends, and I started to win those championships. I represented Colombia in a lot of world championships as well. And I think when I won in Stars of Karting in the United States, that's when my parents really said, "Oh my God, this is serious." She's not the only winning in Colombia, because the level obviously was not as high as anywhere else. But United States was big. So I remember those years like really um, great to share with family and to see how far you can go, and they were the most important because that's how I really got my opportunity to go further and to I escaped university and convinced my parents to let me do racing full time.
Yeah, your parent is very good.
They're very brave.
They're very brave to follow
For
you.
it's working out for now.
Tatiana, 5 years in karting. After you take a monoplace seater, how you start your single seater?
Well, it came really, really quick, and I think, like looking back, maybe I should have done a little bit more preparation because I started in the United States in Star Mazda. It was already like a big car, so not like Formula 4 these days. And I only did like 3 or 4 days of testing before the first race. So for sure, for me, it was a big step up. I didn't know the tracks. I was still finishing school. So I had to like go back to Colombia, travel back and forth. And the physical aspect of single seaters really hit me hard. That first year was like, oh my god, I need a lot of things that I need to learn, with the physicality of things, the technical side. So in a way, I think it was good that I did 2 years. I was with the same team with Juncos Racing, which I had raced with them in karting in the United States, but it was definitely not easy, uh, particularly that first year. But then on the second year, I had a couple of podiums. I was sixth in the standings, and that gave me a lot of confidence to keep believing I could then do the jump to Europe and still aim for Formula One.
Yeah, Tatiana, the jump to the karting to the single seater is more important. Which is your strong, perfect for the single seater? Brakes, accelerated?
I think for me, like the most, like the brakes were really very different to karting. You have to really push the brake really hard in the single seaters. You don't have that much feeling because you are not as close to the ground as with the karts. And for me, the downforce was something huge. So the high speed corners, like your instinct tells you to slow down, but the quicker you go, the more grip you have. And to make that switch in your mind was at the beginning, to trust that amount of downforce that in a go-kart you don't have was quite a big step. That mechanical grip that you feel in the kart is very different, and much like slower to feel in cars and in single seaters. So that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Tatiana, you take a radical decision. Why you choose to live for your Europes? As you are very young at this moment.
Yeah, to be honest, like I was in an airport with my dad and we were watching an IndyCar race, I remember, and in the ovals. And that's when Dan Weldon got killed. And my dad, I always had loved to go to Europe because I wanted to reach Formula One. And in that moment, we thought, okay, let's go to Europe. That's where most of the drivers go to Formula One from. The level is extremely difficult in Europe. And I thought, okay, let's give it a big try. We'll see how it goes. And I went to Formula 3, Spanish Formula 3, a couple of months later to start my European adventure, which was it's been long but very difficult as well because it's a very different culture. I move away from home for the first time alone. So it was a lot of changes, not just in terms of cars and continents, but lifestyle as well.
Tatiana, you are a female driver. How was your relationship with the male driver and the masculine sounding in the paddock?
It's never easy, you know. I wish I said they've treated me the same, but you know, the thing that I enjoyed most was like particularly in the karting days, you know, whenever I beat the boys, they stop greeting you. You see the sad faces on them, on their parents. More like the moms, they were like, oh, well done, but they were like hiding, not to get seen, like greeting me or telling me that I've done a good job. And um it's been hard because, you know, it's to earn the respect from people. Were saying that, oh, maybe you have a better go-kart. They always like don't fully believe that you can be as good as anybody. So every time I went to a different championship. At the beginning, they were like kicking me out of the track, like I was leading, and then I would not finish the race. They just threw me out of the track. So there, at one point, one of my mechanics was like, "Okay, you start in the back, so I don't want you to pass anybody. I just want you to kick everyone out." And I'm like, "But I don't win like this. I don't like this." He said, "That's the only way you're gonna earn the respect." So that's what I did, and then I end up liking it. And that's how I started to gain the respect. And it's been a bit like this at, since the very beginning. Then of course, when you do single seaters, it's a bit different. The ergonomy, the cars are more designed for men measurements, so I had to learn a lot of the technical side to earn that trust of the teams, to earn, yeah, my place. So it's not been easy, also because there's not much research of female drivers. There has not been that many, so we have to train differently. We have different way of thinking. So I've done a lot of research to find out what I needed to be as competitive as them in a different way. And I'm very proud of all the work that I've done, but of course has not been easy, and I hope it starts to become easier so that we can see more and more females in this sport in many areas.
You learn very young the fighting spirit about this man.
I had to, yeah. I actually, it fascinates, like the physical side, the differences, the technical side. It's also I'm very passionate about. So I'm happy that I had to combine all these things. But yeah, I never liked that people told me that I could not do something, because then I would try to do it even 100 times more. So I wanted to prove that you can do anything you put your mind into. So I never like that somebody tells me that I can't do anything, because I will, with all my heart, I will go and prove them wrong.
We have a question for you, Tatiana.
Yeah, we have a question about your studies and your racing career from Clemens on YouTube. And so, how was it to be as driver and also studying? Or how did you manage it at first?
Your
And
schedule.
yeah, and the second one, what advice would you give to a female driver on this subject?
Well, it was not easy because, yeah, I was changing time zones, and I was doing my homework in the planes and taking exams online. By the time that this was not very common, because I'm 29 years old already, so it was like 20 years ago. So it was a bit more difficult, but I think from that time I knew how to organize my timing. And I knew, like, my parents, that's the only condition they would always put for me. It was like, if you're not good in school, there is no way you're gonna keep racing. So I was one of the best at school because of that, because I knew otherwise there was no more racing. And I think that was my motivation to find the time to do both things. Obviously, it's better if you can only do one, but to combine that was just hard work, discipline, and really making sure you use your time wisely. So in the planes, after the session, just to have your things. And when you know you have very little time to study, I think you're more efficient.
If you like study?
I I didn't like. I like to know certain things. Obviously, like everybody, I like certain things, and I was like, I get things quite quickly. So I was quite good at school. Not that I loved it, but again, I was so competitive. I wanted to be the best at everything. So in sport, in have the best grades, and be good in karting. So I think that was sort of my motivation to try and be the best I could.
A person give to me, you see a good study. How many language you have learning?
So I was in a Swiss school, so maybe that's why I knew how to schedule everything perfectly. I speak German, English, and Spanish, and that's all I speak. I think I spoke first. I learned first German and then English because of the racing.
Yeah. Tatiana, in 2014, you are your first victory in single seater. What did you feel for your first victory?
It's always very special, the first time you're in the podium, first time it's like a reassurance of yourself, like, okay, I know I can do this, because if I have done it once, I can do it more times. And it's like, okay, all that work that you're putting is being translated later into the results. At the end, I think it's just you gain that self-confidence that you needed. So that's what for me means like winning, just reassurance of how capable you are of being in the top against the best drivers, and you can, when you put everything together, you can do it. So yeah, as a special one.
Who are you thinking of this podium? Your family, or your start in your karting, or the movie of your life?
Well, I think at them, in that moment, you're just like, finally, I don't think, like, just the hard work really, from your family. I think that's like, I do everything with my family. I'm here because of them. So I think of them. That's the first thing I do. But you only realize, or you only see how far you've come until later on. Unfortunately, sometimes it's like, okay, you need to step away and see, oh my God, I've just done that, because naturally you just go and you say, I want to win the next one, and you forget sometimes to enjoy that moment a little bit longer, because you'll have another test the next week, or you have to prove yourself again. But yeah, if I could tell my younger self to enjoy those moments a little bit longer, I would do.
Yeah, Tatiana, you joined the FIA Women in Motorsport. How did your reaction to your selection in this corporation of the FIA Woman?
Well, I think I was very proud to work alongside someone like Michel Mouton, like Cathy Muller. They're, a history in our sport. They made history. They know how tough things are, and to be, selected to work alongside them, to try and change and to make a better future for other generations, to bring my experience through all these years, to bring something back is something very, very nice. So I'm very proud to have been part of that commission, and to put a little bit to hopefully help the next generation. I think there's a lot of things that we can still do for them, and to make this sport more accessible for the future generation of female drivers and engineers and mechanics. And I think we need to support each other. So that was a very proud moment for sure.
Yeah, Tatiana, 2017, a big opportunity for you. How do you get the position of Formula One driver at the Sauber F1 team? Do you realize that you will do?
Well, it was, yeah, I remember my first meeting with Monisha Calderón, and I was actually called to see her after a GP3 race in Hungary by Marie-Claude Guamont. She was also ex driver, and she's like, she came to see me, and like, Monisha wants to talk to you. She wants to meet you, and I'm like, of course, I love to go meet her, talk to her. First time I was in a Formula One paddock, and I go to introduce myself. And I think the talk went really well, that we then kept in contact. And a couple of months later, I was signed to be a development driver. So I have Monisha to thank for that opportunity. And I think that's, again, women supporting women. At the end, she gave me my first opportunity. And since then, I was 4 years with the team, and I tested a Formula One car for the first time. And it was surreal, the first time I went to sign the contract in Sauber, and you see so many people, so many engineers, cars, trophies, the infrastructure of a Formula One team, the wind tunnel. It was incredible. It was like a dream come true to be part of a Formula One team, and for sure that's something I will keep in my heart and in my memories as one of the best in my career.
As they work for you, all for you.
Exactly. And I remember, like, the first time you jump in the car, and you do all those procedures, and you check your radio, and everything feels like home, and you're like, okay, the dream of that 9-year-old girl watching a Formula One race of Montoya I'm driving the car now. So it was, yeah, unbelievable to experience. One of the best, for sure, moments of my career, to drive a Formula One car for the first time, to go flat out on the first straight, and learn all the gears and the speeds, the G forces that go through your body. It's like a roller coaster, and unbelievable.
And Tatiana, how do you feel when the engine start and the Formula One in your first time?
Oh my God, you're like, you want to cry, you're nervous, yet you have to be super focused because you've done all your simulator work, all the preparation outside. But once you jump in there, and I did my first test in Mexico in the 2018 car, so the new generation car that was super quick. And I remember Frederick Vasseur telling me, like, the days before, like, I want the car back in one piece. And you're like, I want to show what I can do, yet you have to bring the car back in one piece, not make any mistakes. And I think that was a really, like, a very special day for me. I think I prove a lot of people what I'm capable of. I never felt so comfortable in a car, like in a Formula One car. Everything, when we did the seat fit, was amazing. The people that you get to work with in a team like Alfa Romeo Racing, or like all the engineers, they were amazing with me. So they made it easy.
What's more impressive to you in Formula One?
wow, the grip of those cars, the acceleration is unbelievable. But also, like, I think everything, the brakes, just thanks God I had trained my neck really hard, because when you go from 340 in Mexico, you break down the gears to second for the first corner. You feel that energy goes through when you brake. It's the deceleration and acceleration are unbelievable. So and that's a low downforce track, let's call it like that. So was very impressive, very impressive.
In a Formula One test session, Tatiana, what is your aim in the inside the Formula One?
Well, I think obviously you have many goals, but every time you get a chance like that, you have to show what you can do. Obviously, you have to manage the risk quite well. How much risk I take, without doing a silly mistake. So it was more about discovering quickly the level of grip that you have available, making sure that you communicate well what you think of the car, with the engineers, that they can trust what you're saying, and then just trying to really show the potential that there is for you to have further opportunities in the future.
The difference, you following a physical project for Formula One?
Yes, I did a lot of training. Like, I started, I think, a year before. So like with my neck, it grew like 9 centimeters of. I had to change my shirts. You always do some extra work. It was really hard physically, particularly for the upper body. Um, Obviously, it has power steering that Formula Two or IndyCar don't have. But again, like the G forces for the braking, the explosivity, your heart rate, because at the end there's not much air coming through, and the G forces on your lower back as well. You feel it. So I did started a very big training regime like a year before I had my first test.
Yeah. In 2019, you are the first, still today, the first woman to compete in Formula 2.
Yeah, I'm back after 3 years, but it felt the right progression for me to go from GP3 to Formula 2. Obviously, I knew the physical side was gonna be even more challenging. I definitely feel like that's been the hardest year of my career, of my personal life experience as well. But that at the end gave me opportunities to go see other places. It prepared me for the future at the end, and I'm really happy that today I'm back in Formula 2, and I have a second chance.
In this champion, you have a set events inside your team. You lost your teammate Anthoine Hubert. How do you live this experience?
I think it's the toughest moment of my life, of my career. You question a lot of things. You realize or you respect what you do much more. And I think sometimes you don't appreciate how lucky you are to be doing what you love and doing it at a very high level. I think I learned that I need to enjoy more what I was doing, because sometimes pressure, it's very hard when you are fighting for a Formula One seat, but there is life after that. I'm very lucky that I have a supportive family like he did, and it's something you never imagine could happen. Uh, Still, was really hard to realize. To not see him or his family around anymore. It was really tough, but I learned to enjoy every day as it comes, enjoy every chance you have to live your dream. And I think he was doing what he loved, so that's he will always be with us. I think of him very often, because it reminds me to enjoy my time. So a tough experience. I hope nobody has to live that again, but it also teach me a lot of things. And he was a fantastic driver, so dedicated, hard worker, always extracting the most out of what he had. And he was very impressive on what I think was not a very competitive car. I don't know how he managed to win those races. So yeah, I learned a lot about him.
Tatiana, next year in 2020, you go to the first time in endurance. Um, why did you to decide to compete in endurance racing and especially in LMP2?
Well, it was a fantastic project, and I got a call from Amanda Mill, who was starting this amazing project to show the world that a female crew in one of the most competitive championships, and one of the most demanding races, like the 24 hours of Le Mans, and obviously the races that we did to prepare that. She wanted to give a great chance to prove what we could do. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I knew I wanted to be part of such a team, to prove the world what we could do. And I thank Richard Mille for that amazing opportunity. There's nothing like I started the race. I finished the 24 hours of Le Mans, our first time, the three of us competing, and we finished in the top 10. So it was an unbelievable experience. Obviously, I hope that I can come back to endurance one day. But if it was, yeah, it was great feeling to be part of such an amazing initiative to be all female lineup in LMP2.
Tatiana, Le Mans is a special in motorsport. How do you feel during your first 20 hours of Le Mans?
It was a very strange Le Mans, because obviously we had no parade, we have no public.
Yeah, you are in the COVID time.
Yeah, with the COVID time. So for me, it was still super amazing. Like the track, the night stints, the demanding of the race itself. You have your at 3 a.m. You wake up, your muscles are like so tired, the tension, because you cannot make a mistake. I did the start, which was a very tense moment, but it was unbelievable. Like it's my favorite race. It's something, an energy that you cannot describe, and that's why I would love to come back, because it has a special energy. So I think it's for sure my favorite, and most drivers' favorite. I'm pretty sure about that.
Tatiana, Willy have a lot of question for the endurance. Willy?
Yes, of course. Yeah, and maybe I will start with Alan. He has a question about Le Mans and 2021, which is so how did you manage the year? If I can resume his question with Le Mans preparation. So how did you manage this year?
I repeat the question. You are a single-seater driver, and what is your feeling to partage the steering wheel with two another driver? Is
Yeah,
possible? What is your configuration about this lineup?
it's very different, because in endurance you have to think like a team player. In single seaters, you're very egocentric. You want the best for your car. You want your setup. You know everything. In endurance, you have to compromise and be a team player. You have to compromise your seat position. You have to compromise your setup, and you have to be open to help the team. So it's a very different mentality that, of course, takes time to build into, to not be egoistic, or I don't know how to say it, but to be a team player. So I quite liked the atmosphere, and I definitely learned to adapt more as a driver to the different circumstances. You have to be a super complete driver in endurance, to be honest. People underestimate that. They think, endurance is you have to keep the car, blah, blah. You are flat out the whole race, trying to save fuel, trying to save tires, and adapting to a car that it's not the best for you.
Yeah. And another question to Alan. How do you integrate the Richard Mille team?
Well, I think it showed that we could do a really good job together. I mean, to finish our first time, the Le Mans was the first time we had 3 rookie drivers. The first time we were racing together, because before we were meant to have Catherine Legg in the car, but then she got injured, so we had like replacement drivers all the time. So what we did, I think it was really good. Unfortunately, we couldn't continue as a whole team for this year. We took different roads, but I'm very grateful for the time I had there, and I hope, like I said, to come back at some point in endurance, because Le Mans is something very special.
Okay, so I have another question for you, and so it's from Michael. When you think about aerodynes, what's inspiring you with their performance, and maybe you would be with there, or maybe you want to try to be with there, or is it a model for you?
Well, I think, all the initiatives that want to promote female drivers and want to give them a fair treatment and good equipment to perform. I'm super happy to see them doing so well in GTs. This year they've won some, like the 24 hours of Spa. They almost won the last weekend. It was heartbreaking to see them very last minute with the technical failure, but they've done a really good job. I'm really happy to see them do well. We need more like that. But I'm also very grateful for what Richard Mille has done to promote female talent as well. So for sure, I would love to go back in endurance, but I don't. At the moment, I'm quite happy with all the opportunities that I have had so far.
Yeah, Tatiana, I have a question for Michael. You prefer a mixed lineup or a female lineup?
Oh God.
Bad question.
Honestly, because at the end you're driving, it's obviously is more special to win or to be competitive with an all-female lineup, because it's like, in a way we have felt the same through our careers. We drive in a very similar way. Maybe our measurements are a little bit closer to put everything together in a car. But also sometimes, it's a mixed sport. So why can we have mixed teams? It's I'm happy to drive with male and female. I don't have a preference.
Another question to Alan. You are more impressive by the Formula One or the LMP2?
Oh, Formula One is unbelievable. The level in LMP2 is crazy. You see a lot of ex-Formula One drivers in the LMP2 these days. So for sure, yeah, I'm impressed with Formula One speed and the technology. Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah, Tatiana, and you in 2021 you do Le Mans and you have another program. You're back to the Formula One, and you make a good season. Can you explain your 2022 program this year? VCR?
Yeah, it's
Can you
still
tell me? Can you tell us
still
your year?
it's still crazy to think all that has happened in 2022. I feel like it's been like 3 years for me, because it's a lot has happened. Um, I had to decide, to just do one championship at the beginning. It was I wanted to do again combine single seaters with endurance. It was not possible because too many clashes, so I had to decide, and I went for IndyCar. I was a new experience, first time racing in such a demanding car against the likes of Roman Grosjean, Montoya, people that I have watched in the TV for 20 years. Scott Dixon is still there. Very competitive championship, very difficult tracks. And I thought I was going to be there for the whole year, obviously. Um, Halfway through the season, unfortunately, the team lost the main sponsor. So I was like out of contention. I was not going to be driving for 6 months. I I was back in Colombia when I got a call. I got a new sponsor. She's called Carol G. Is a Colombian artist. She's a singer. Unbelievable. She wanted to support me to go back racing. And there was all of a sudden a spot in Formula 2 with Charouz Racing. Um, I took the opportunity, took the first flight I had from Colombia, and I didn't know if I was going to be racing that weekend actually in Spa to make my comeback of all places in Spa. For me, that was like destiny. So I am very grateful for everybody that has helped me get to Formula 2 back again. Of course, it was a huge challenge. I haven't driven the car with these 18-inch wheels. I haven't driven in those cars with Pirelli for 3 years, and you just jumping straight away into free practice was really tough. But I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm really happy that I have a second chance, and see how far I can come in Abu Dhabi now that I had more time to think about things and to be more ready for the challenge.
Yeah, you come back to the Formula One paddock, perhaps in F2.
Maybe. Exactly. You never know. At the end of the day, I believe anything is possible. For me to be sponsored by a female singer from Colombia, I never thought that could be possible to be back in Formula 2. I thought my time was up there, and you never know. You have to be there to take any opportunity that you have, and to show your talent when you're given the opportunity.
Yeah, Willy?
Yep. We have another question for IndyCar versus F2. So yeah. So it's about drivability of the cars, and what in terms of drivability, it's more maybe easier in F2 or IndyCar to adapt, or maybe with the engine also you have differences. Well, what can you tell us with F2 and IndyCar?
Yeah, is a very different cars like styles to drive, mostly because of the tires. It's very very different. Like for example, in Pirelli, you have to go out warm up lap, push, lap, cool, push is always this sequence. In IndyCar, to bring the tires in, you have to push like crazy all the time because the tires otherwise they don't come in. So you have to straight away be pushing consecutively. The tracks are very different. I think that Formula 2 has a bit more downforce, and because the springs, the dampers are open in the regulation for IndyCar, the mechanical grip it's better on an IndyCar. But again, it's a very different style, very different way of approaching a whole weekend. So it was for sure a big surprise for me to kind of, okay, everything that I had worked so hard to change in my style to suit IndyCar, I had to forget all that and come back to Pirelli and to a different style. But at the end, that's what I think makes a driver better, to be more flexible, to adapt quicker. And of course, it's never easy when you jump halfway through the season, or even more than just for the four last races, and everybody has done the full season and testing. So I know is not an easy task.
Yeah. Tatiana, some question about your futures. What will you be in your future? Endurance, single seater, USA, Europe's, or is too earlier to speak?
It's too early to speak. I will see if somebody can read my cards or tell me where I'm gonna be, because at the end I was in both this year. So yeah, I'm open to everything, honestly. And I think the destiny will decide for me.
Yeah, you have some funny question for you, Tatiana. Are you sim racing fan?
Sorry?
Are you sim racing fan?
Oui.
Oui.
I have a sim at home, but I suck.
And Thibaut André, and do you prefer driving on the drat or the wet track?
On where?
Wet or dry?
I like drying track. So when you start from wet and it starts to dry, that's when that's the best conditions I think that I drive.
And what is your favorite corner on any track? Just one corner. You choose one corner.
Holy moly. One corner.
In Europe, in US.
Actually, like I think in Fuji,
Yeah.
the I don't know 160R could be called the long left-hander in Super Formula that was flat out with the banking, and I quite like that corner.
Tatiana, if you compare Super Formula, Formula 2, Formula 1, IndyCar, what's your choice? What's your choice?
Between Formula 1 and Super Formula, that car, the Super Formula, wow, that car has so much downforce, people underestimate, and it's an amazing car to drive.
And the pleasure to drive Formula 1, Super Formula, Indy?
The most enjoyable car is Formula 1, obviously. You can build the perfect cars all of a sudden for each corner. You know how many switches you can change, the differential, the brake balance, everything in to make it fit. So I think Formula 1 is probably the best.
Another question, Alan, what is your sentiment about the Pirelli in Formula 1?
I mean, sometimes they are told to build that type of tire.
Yeah.
I think they've developed quite a lot with all the years that they've done that, even in Formula 2. So yeah, I think at the end they are there to to get the demands of Formula One, and it's not like a tire war. So it's hopefully we'll see tire war in the future, and then you'll be able to judge more.
Tatiana, prototype or single seater?
I'm a single seater girl,
Single
but
seater.
I like them all.
Alors, the another question: night or day?
Day.
Day. And in endurance, what be your lineup for a 24 hours race?
So we are three drivers.
Pilots, 3 drivers.
Okay, I would choose Montoya. So
Yeah.
I have a mixed lineup. And I would put Danica Patrick. Why not?
Yeah. You meet her in US? No.
No, not yet, not yet. But I would like to see. She was very successful in IndyCar, so to have that mixed lineup and see how we could do together, it would be nice to see.
And the last driver?
That would be me, no?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I want to be Montoya, Danica, and me.
You. Do you have any ritual or habits before getting in the car?
I always try to. I like to listen to music to just get in my zone, and I always warm up like in the same way, like physically, because then I just you have your procedure and your ritual. So that's the only thing really that I do exactly the same all the time.
Yeah. Anna, what's your playlist music on the race weekend?
Well, we see now Karol G. I hope that you listen to her music. She has some great songs. I like Coldplay as well, quite a lot. Shakira. Yeah, I think those every moment of your life, you have some certain songs that bring you back some memories. So from different stages of my career, I have a couple that put me in a good mood.
Yeah. A question interesting. Alan, if a constructor give you a seat in Le Mans Hypercar or Le Mans Daytona Hypercar, you accept this proposition?
In both, or
Yeah.
I have one.
In the future?
Yeah,
LMH or MDH?
I accept.
You accept?
Definitely.
Yeah. And what does Miss Tatiana Calderón do with her free time?
I quite like coffee a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to go try very different types of coffee whenever I am there. Like I have free time, and I love nature and like running, and yeah, I can't be like sitting around just watching something. I like to be very active.
Yeah. And what is your favorite meal?
My favorite meal. Oh,
Italian, Colombian, American,
I quite like
German?
from the Arabic food, like hummus and falafel, and I'm quite a big fan at the moment from that kind of food. But pizza is also one of my favorites.
Tatiana, we have some question about your helmets. If possible, to see your helmet, please, if you have a...
This is
And there is a story of the decoration?
Yes, this is designed by Karol G.
Yeah.
So you have her heart with the stitches to like keep the bad people outside. Let's say you're protected from with all the stitches. Your heart, it should be protected from everything. I have my butterfly. This is like a symbol for me to all the process of the butterfly, and you're ready to fly high and see how far you can come. And this bichota is how it's like her is Carol G's. She wanted to give a meaning of a badass woman, those fighters. That's the term bichota. So she chose the colors as well. I have ABL who have been supporting me, Richard Mille as well, and Carol G for this race. So yeah, it's very different to my old design in terms of colors, but I quite liked it, and yeah, it was designed by her.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh,
Tatiana, is the end of the live. We have a custom to the invite conclude the live. The power is to you, Tatiana, and thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
French.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I had a great time reliving all good memories, and I hope to see you at a racetrack in endurance very soon.